Hello and welcome everybody. My name is the Shy Hat and we're doing HackerFrogs AfterSchool web app hacking today. So this is the first workshop for web app hacking. This is the first workshop for web app hacking we're doing. So let's do a little intro to what web app hacking is. If you're here in chat, please give us a shout out, say hello, and leave a smiley so we know that you're here. So I know who to address in the chat when we're doing our lesson. All right. So while we're waiting for that, let's go through a quick intro to Hey Devilmind, nice to see you here. I hope you've been having a good week. And Tracy T, hello. Nice to see you everybody here. Friendly faces from the previous Python programming course. All right, but we're not doing Python today. We're doing web app hacking. So HackerFrogs AfterSchool is a cybersecurity program for learning beginner cybersecurity skills across a wide variety of subjects. This is the intro to web app hacking. But you might ask yourself, what is web app hacking? Web app hacking is the intentional abuse of systems and applications accessed via the internet by a user which benefits that user in some way. This benefit can take the form of access to unauthorized data or systems, the deletion of data, denial of website services, or any number of other benefits. In order to learn web app hacking, we must learn about the internet, how websites work, and a good amount about the technologies and software found in that space. Most students know at least the basics of using a web browser and how to use websites, so we will build on those skills to establish a collection of techniques to explore and hack web applications found on the internet. So it's important to note that at no time during our study of web app hacking will we engage in testing or hacking of websites or internet spaces that A, we do not own, or B, are not intentionally set up as learning environments for web app hacking education. So we like to talk about CTFs and using CTFs to solve, to learn web app, to learn cybersecurity skills. But what are CTFs? So cybersecurity capture the flag (CTF) games are training exercises where the goal of the exercise is to capture the flag through use of cybersecurity skills. In this context, capture means to gain access to a file or other resource, and flag refers to a secret phrase or password. The CTF game we will be playing to learn basic web app hacking skills is called Natas, which is hosted on the OverTheWire CTF network. The OverTheWire network hosts several different CTF games. The Natas CTF game is made up of many levels of increasing difficulty, and the initial levels, from 0 to 10, cover the target web app hacking techniques for this course. So in the next workshop, not the next workshop, in this workshop we'll be beginning our journey into web hacking using the Natas CTF game. So that is the intro to the course, and this is workshop number 1. So to learn about the Natas CTF rules, let's navigate to the following URL. So I'm going to copy this. And I'll paste it in the chat. It's this one right here. So everybody, during the workshop, if you have any questions or comments, please type them in the chat, and we'll try to address them as soon as we can. All right, so Natas teaches the basics of server-side web security. Let's make this font a little bit smaller. I think we can still read it, even if it's a little bit smaller. So each level of Natas consists of its own website, located at this URL right here, where the level of the Natas game is going to take the place of the X over here. So X is the level number. There's no SSH login. To access a level, enter the username for that level. For example, Natas0 for level 0 and its password. So each level has access to passwords in the next level. Your job is to somehow obtain the next password and level up. So on each one of these pages, each level, there's going to be a web page, and we're going to need to find the password for the next level on that web page. So if for some reason we're able to access the server underneath the web page, the passwords are going to be stored in this directory right here. So it's /etc/ /natas webpass / the level. So Natas 5 is stored in etc. Natas webpass Natas 5, and it's only readable by Natas 4 and Natas 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our web browser to navigate to the following page. So this one is going to be Natas level 0. I will copy this web page into the chat, and you guys can go ahead and access it through your web browser. Whoops. Okay, so let me paste this in. Okay, so when you try to access the web page, you're going to see that there's a sign-in page over here, and we can supply a username and password. So the username for these levels is always going to be Natas, and then the number of the level that we're on. So we're on Natas level 0, so the username is going to be Natas0. And the password for this particular page is also Natas0. So use Natas0 as the username and Natas0 as the password, and click on sign in. So everybody, if you've successfully logged into Natas0, please type in the chat Natas0 and add a smiley, just so they know that you've progressed to this point. Okay, Ilhan is in. And Tracy T is in. Devil Mind is also in. Nice to hear. Okay, so we see here that it says on the website you can find the password for the next level on this page. So if anybody has any experience with web pages, what are some things we can do on the web page to try to find hidden information? So what are some simple ways we can try to find some hidden information on this particular web page or website? If anybody knows, type it in the chat. Okay, so Ilhan says to inspect. All right, so what you could do is you could right click and then click on inspect over here. That's one thing you could do. Okay, is there anything else that that you could try? Ilhan says we could try F12, the F12 key on our keyboard. I'm not too sure which shortcut that is for web browsers. Let me ask ChatGPT what the F12 shortcut key is for web browsers. So here at HackerFrogs, we don't feel any shame for using ChatGPT or Google to try to answer any questions we have. So Ilhan says that that's the developer console. Okay, so it says ChatGPT also says that F12 opens the developer tools. Okay, so this can be used by developers to inspect and debug web pages. Okay, and all this other good stuff. All right, so for this particular web page, it's not so complicated as to how we're going to solve the challenge. So what we would do, it's not using the developer console. If we click on inspect, we're not necessarily going to find. Actually, we might find. We actually could find the password for the next level inside of here. So in the developer console here, you can find the HTTP source code, and inside the HTTP source code, you can find the password for the next level inside of this right here, which is called an HTTP comment. So you can tell it's a comment by the arrow key, the angle bracket, and the exclamation point, and then the angle bracket at the end over here. So this is what we're looking for as the password for the level. So I'm not sure how we would highlight this, but another thing we can do instead of going into the developer console is we could just right click and then click on view page source right here, and view page source is going to take us directly to the source code for this particular web page. So you can see here that there is HTML code over here. So HTML code begins with one bracket over here and it ends with with another bracket at the end. And I used to be very intimidated when I saw source code on the web browser, and every time I saw it, I would say I would get really scared and I would close the window. But not so much anymore. But I used to. So you can see here that this is an HTML HTTP comment. And then we can copy this as the password. So I'm going to copy it and paste it into the chat for you guys, just in case you need to. But what I would suggest is creating your own file with these passwords yourself. So what I'm going to do is, on my desktop, I'm going to create a little file. And I'm going to make a new text file. I'll call it Natas pass. And then inside this file, I'm going to keep track of the Natas passwords. So this is the password for Natas1, and I'm going to paste in that password there, and then I'm going to save it. Okay. So let's see, do I have something prepared for... I think I do. Right. Looking at HTTP source code. Let's see. Ilhan says the password won't be in plain text. The password won't be in plain text? I'm not sure. No, this is not the hash password. This is the plain text password. That's how the game is set up. All right. So we're talking about HTTP source code. So web browsers render out web pages based on the HTTP code provided by the web server. Every web browser allows us to view a web page's HTTP source code. For web app testing, this allows us to find interesting directories, developer comments, and more. So basically, this is the first thing you would do if you're trying to do security testing on any web app. So you basically this is the first step that you would take, is to take a look at the HTTP source, because there might be some hidden stuff inside of the source for you to test out. Okay, so everybody, that's the end of Natas level 0. All right. So in order to access the next level, all we need to do is go to the web page and change it from Natas 0 and switch out the 0 with the 1, and then this takes a little bit, and then it lets you log into Natas 1. So remember, we're on Natas level 1 now. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it into the chat for you guys to look at. So the username is going to be Natas1, not Natas0. And then the password for this is going to be the password we got in the last level. So you can get that from the chat, or you can get that from your own file that you've been keeping track of. And then you paste it in. And then you click on sign in. Okay, so everybody, if you've managed to successfully log into Natas level 1, please type Natas1 in the chat and leave a smiley, just so that I know that you're there. So just like this. Thank you very much, Ilhan. Good to see. Okay, Tracy T is in. Nice to see, nice to see. And Devil Mind. All right, so it says here on the website that you can find the password for the next level on this page, but right-clicking has been blocked. Okay, so if right-clicking has been blocked, and if we try right-clicking on the page, it says that right-clicking has been blocked. So we can't right-click and then select View Source Code to try to look at the contents of this web page. So how can we get around this? Does anybody know? Is there anything we can do to try to get around this problem? Please type in the chat, and then we'll talk about some possible solutions. Okay, Devil Mind says Control U. All right. So Devil Mind says Control U. So that indeed does get us over to the source code for this level. So Control U is the keyboard shortcut on most web browsers that lets you see the source code. So what you can do is you can copy this password right here, and the password is for this level is also inside of a comment over here, inside of these I guess I would call them HTML quotes right here. So you would copy this, and then you would save it to your file that you're keeping track of your passwords in. So I'm going to do that over here. So I'm going to type in Natas2, and then I'm going to paste in my password, and I'm going to save it. So an interesting thing is that if we know, let's go back. So if we know that right-clicking has been blocked, but we're trying to see the source code for the level, what we could do is we could go to Google and we can search it. So maybe web page source code alternative. So how can I get the source code for any website? Okay, so you can open the source code view. Windows is right-click the page. Alternatively, you can press Control U on your keyboard. Okay, so that's one possible solution, but we can also use another tool at our disposal, which has only come about in the last couple of years. We tried using ChatGPT to ask this exact question. So let's take a look at the presentation. I talk about this. Okay, so we're talking about lateral problem solving. So when hackers encounter a locked door, they look for an open window. So we can look at a web app. We can look at web app security in terms of checking which doors and windows are locked and which can be opened. So this is where a security tester's most powerful weapon, research, comes into play. Two common research tools used these days are ChatGPT and the Google search engine. So here we use the prompt, what are some different ways we can see HTTP source code in the web browser if mouse right-clicking is not possible? So let's ask this inside here. Can see web page So our good friend, the AI chatbot, provides us with several different alternatives. So we could use keyboard shortcuts, we could use URL modification, we could use developer tools. So we have a lot of different options available to us. So this one is actually kind of handy. So at the start of any web page, any web address, you can tack this in front, view-source, and then colon, and then you can see the web page source code. So for example, if we go over here, and then we put at the beginning, view source, colon, Natas1 over here, and then we run that, then it's going to take us to the source code right over here. So that's this is very handy to know that when one option is not available to you, you can always research how to work around the problem. Oops, let me get rid of this. So once the obstacle to the problem is discovered, we can research a way to overcome the obstacle or a method of bypassing it. Okay, awesome. All right, so everybody, where are we? So we've got our password, and now we can try going to Natas level 2. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to adjust this so that it's Natas level 2. So we just need to modify the number so it says Natas 2 instead of Natas 1, and then we can go there. So everybody, I'm going to paste this in chat for just in case you want to get your get your level URL from there. And once again, we have to supply our username, which is Natas4, Natas2. And then the password is the password we got in the last level, paste it in, and click sign in. Okay, and it says there is nothing on this page. Okay, so can somebody in the chat tell us what we should do to try to find some information on this page? So anybody in the chat, if you feel like exploring this webpage on your own and trying to solve the challenge before the rest of us do, you can go ahead and try. But what would we do to, okay, we would view the page source. All right, so right-clicking is available on this page, so we can absolutely try that. So we can click on View Page Source, and we see here, remember that inside of these Natas CTF challenges, the stuff right here has nothing to do with how to solve the level, so we can ignore this. But we see right here that there is this link right here, image source files/pixel.png. What can we do with that? Does anybody have any suggestions? So we have this this link right here. Yeah, that's a URL. So we could certainly try to follow this link right here. And if we click on it, then it'll take us to this single pixel right here, which is the contents of this pixel.png file. But what could we also do now that we know that there is a file inside of this directory called files? So we see here that we have we're looking at pixel.png, but we also have this directory called files right here. What can we do with this? We could navigate to other files. That's correct. All right, so let me explain what we're doing before we execute this plan right here. So we're exploiting something called directory indexing. So directory indexing is an insecure setting on a website that allows users to see the file contents of web directories. Although it is quite rare to encounter this issue on modern websites, it is still very common to find it on older websites. So if directory indexing is enabled, and a malicious user is able to discover different directory paths on the website, either through guessing, HTML source analysis, or directory busting, then sensitive files may be discovered, stolen, or otherwise abused. So basically, directory list indexing lets you see the contents of directories that you might not necessarily want users looking at, right? So we see here that there's a directory called files right here. So what we could do is on this address bar right here, we can just delete pixels.png, and we can just look at the directory files right there. And if we do that, we see that inside of this directory here, there's a file called pixel.png, but there is also a file called users.txt. And here we also see some information about the web server itself, what kind of server it's running, what operating system it's running, and which port that it's using, and other stuff like that. But you can you'll know that directory indexing is enabled because you'll see a web page like this called index of, and then the name of the directory right here. So inside of the users.txt file, we find some usernames and passwords. So Alice, Bob, Charlie, Natas3 even Mallory, but this right here is the password for Natas3, and that's the objective for the level. All right? So I'm going to copy this and paste it in chat for everybody. Okay, so let's try logging into Natas level 3. Okay, so once again, we adjust the URL so that it says Natas 3 instead of Natas 2, and then we can navigate to it. So I'll leave this link in the chat. Okay, so once again, we have to supply our username and password. Remember, we're on Natas level 3. And we use the password we got from the last level. So everybody, if you managed to successfully log in, please let us know by typing Natas3 and a smiley in chat. All right, Ilhan is in. And Tracy T is in, and Devilmind is in. All right, so before we go on further, I'm going to take a little break to just discuss very briefly about how we access web pages. So we're talking about HTTP requests. So HTTP is the backbone of the internet, and everything we get from web pages is the result of HTTP requests and HTTP responses. So all web browsers receive web page content by sending HTTP requests to web servers. So the web browser is what is called a client, and the system that we get the web pages from, they're called servers. So this is called a server-client model, where we use our clients to make a request, and then the servers serve up the content for us. So in return, the web servers send the web browser an HTTP response, which is rendered by the browser and presented to the user. So when the web browser receives the source code from the web server, it's going to turn it into a nice and pretty web page that looks like this, right? Except that what the web browser actually receives is this code right here. But it takes this code and then it turns it into the prettified stuff that we see inside the web browser. So each HTTP request is made with a specific HTTP method. So HTTP requests all use a specific method. In most cases, when we're retrieving web pages, we're using the get method. So we use a request, and then we say we want to get this, get from the Natas directory here, from OverTheWire.org. And this is going to tell the web server what kind of interaction you want from it. The most common HTTP method is the get method, which retrieves the contents of web pages. But the web server will always return an HTTP status code with its response. So when you send the HTTP request, then the web server is going to send a response back. And with the response, it's always going to return a status code with its response in the form of a 3-digit number. So any code in the 200 range is considered a successful response. So usually when you receive a successful response from the web server, it's going to send you a code 200, which is okay, which means that you're able to successfully access the web page. Okay, So why are we discussing this? We'll talk a little bit later about using some other programs for trying to access web pages, but we'll keep on using the web browser for now. So here it says there is nothing on this page. So this is Natas 3. It says there's nothing on the page. But if we go to the source code over here, there's a comment over here, and it says no more information leaks. Not even Google will find it this time. So so everybody in chat, please type in chat and let us know what you think is the what we're talking about here. So not even Google will find it this time. No information leaks. What are we talking about? So Devilmind says it's robot.txt. Okay, that is the answer. But are there any other? So there are no other. Previous file. Okay. All right. So now that the cat is out of the bag, let's talk about this particular file called robots.txt. So the web server. Not this. So we're talking about robots.txt. This is a particular file on a web server. So search engines such as Google, Yahoo, DuckDuckGo, etc. use programs called robots to visit websites and map out their web pages. So just as an aside to everybody, type out your favorite search engine in the chat right now. It might be Google, or it might be what else do people like to use? They also like to use Firefox. Some people like to use Safari. People using Mac OS. So these robots, these search engines use robots to visit web pages and map out their contents. However, this may cause sensitive areas of the websites to appear in the search results. So in order to prevent this, website administrators can add a file called robots.txt to their website, which specifies which directories and/or pages of the website are off limits to search engine robot programs. So this is actually a very real thing. And if we were to go to google.com, so if we were to go to google.com and look for the robots.txt file here, so this is a file that tells search engine robots what it can record and what it can't record. So you see here it says disallow the search directory, but allow the search about directory, allow the search static. So it's just this big list of directories that the search engine robots are not allowed to keep track of when it's searching, when it's mapping out the website, right? Where were we? Okay. So unfortunately, if malicious users know how to find the robots.txt file, the contents of the file could potentially lead them to sensitive areas of the website. All right, so let's see. Tracy T says that Google is their favorite search engine. Devilmind says DuckDuckGo. All right, so that's those are very, very popular answers. Whoops. Okay, so let's try this out on Natas 3. So can anybody tell us how we would access the robots.txt file? So if we have our web address right here for Natas 3, how will we access the robots.txt file? Does anybody know? Okay, everybody. Well, the answer is, what you would do is you would just put slash, and then you can access whatever other files or directories underneath this particular domain right here. Okay, so just type it. Well, that's true. So remember, you have to put a slash before you type in the file name. So slash robots.txt, just like this. Okay, and then right. So everybody, I'll leave this link in the chat for everybody to look at. Okay, so it says here disallow /secret/. Only it's not spelled the regular way. It's spelled with these 3s that take the place of E's. So what can we do with this information right here? So here, inside of the robots.txt file here, it says user agent. So user agent basically means what kind of web browser or other program can be used to access the web page, and the star means that that any web browser or other browsing program can be used. So the disallow entry right here means that the following directory or the following files are not allowed to be recorded by the search engine robots. So here, it's a directory here called /secret. So what can we do with this information? Well, the answer is that we can access this directory directly. And in fact, what we would do is we could just copy this, and then instead of accessing robots.txt, we can just substitute in this directory right here that's called secret. And then we can browse to it by just pressing enter. And we see here that the same vulnerability on the last level of the game is also present here. Remember, there was a vulnerability called directory indexing or directory listing. It's on this particular web page as well. All right, so that means that we can click on the users.txt file that's in this directory, and we can get the password for the next level. So Natas 4 is this password right here. Let's record it. And let's save it to our file. Actually, this is the password for Natas 4, so let's record it right there. And I forgot to record the password for Natas 3. Where was it? I think it was this one. Let me grab it from the chat. Okay. All right, so we save that out. And that is all for, that's all the levels we're going to cover for this lesson. But let's take a look at the summary for today's workshop. So one thing we learned was lateral problem solving. So the most important skill to develop in cybersecurity is researching. Google and ChatGPT are two powerful research tools. Use them wisely. We also learned about directory indexing. So directory indexing is a vulnerability on websites that allows users to see the contents of web directories, which can lead to sensitive data exposed to arbitrary website visitors. So if you can see all of the files inside of a particular directory when you browse to it, that means that directory indexing is enabled. And we learned about robots.txt. It's a special file included on certain websites that indicate which files on the website can and cannot be indexed by search engine robots. It can be abused to point malicious users to sensitive parts of the website. So everybody, if anybody has any questions about what we learned in today's workshop, please let us know. Before we finish off the lesson, please fill out the survey for Black Girls Hack to let them know what you thought of the workshop. If there were any things that you needed to change that you found were too difficult or too easy, let us know, because that's how we get feedback for the program, and I like to improve my teaching techniques whenever I can. Before we go, I'm going to introduce a particular tool that we can use to access web pages. So what we want to do is we want to access our command prompt. And the thing I'm going to introduce before we go is called the curl program. So curl is a way where we can use the command line to access web pages. So if we were to just use curl and then use the $V flag and then supply it with the web page. So let's say that we want to take a look at https overthewire.org/wargames/Natas. This is the page we were looking at earlier, right? So this page right here, we can access it from the terminal using the curl program. So I think this is all we need to supply. So it's curl and then /VV and then the URL of the web page we want to access. So we see here that there's a lot of source code. But because we are using the VV flag right here, that means it's going to give us very verbose output. And we can see the HTTP request right here. So it's trying this particular IP address on port 443, and that means we're going to be connecting to over the wire on port 443. And we're going to be using HTTP 1.1, and we're going to do a GET request for the wargames/Natas directory on the host overthewire.org using the user agent curl. So this is the name of the program. So this is the HTTP GET request right here. So, and this is the HTTP reply, the response. So it has a lot of different components right here. We don't necessarily have to understand everything in the content of these requests and responses in order to learn about web app hacking. But in order to understand it well, we should definitely learn a bit about the HTTP protocol, because this is the system that we're hacking. So hacking is all about taking advantage of a system. And the system in this case, in the case of web app hacking, is the HTTP protocol. I'm going to suggest some HTTP education materials. I'll leave a couple of the links in chat. So here are a couple of articles about HTTP, and there's also a great video online from a channel called HackerSploit. So this is a cybersecurity channel. But on the cybersecurity channel, they're talking about HTTP, and there's also a longer video that we can look at if you want to learn more about the protocol. So while we're working through our course on web app hacking, we're going to be talking a lot about HTTP. Ilhan says, "I'm currently learning on TryHackMe." That's great. There's a lot of different platforms that we can look at to learn about web app hacking. So if you all are agreeable, I'm going to be doing an extra credit. How do you say? Live stream on Wednesday. So it's going to be the HackerFrogs extra credit class, and we're going to be taking a look at a few more like very beginner web app challenges and working through them. So if you can attend, please say extra credit in the chat to let me know that you're interested. So in the next HackerFrogs AfterSchool Web App Exploitation Workshop, we'll continue learning web exploitation skills with Natas CTF. So this is a, I should have corrected this. So on YouTube, you're not allowed to use the word exploitation. That's a hacker thing. You should know what not to say when you're interacting with the system. And YouTube really doesn't like this word right here. So I'm not going to be publishing any materials using this word going forward because YouTube doesn't like it. All right, so there's also some extra credit materials inside of the video version of this topic. As you know, I run a YouTube page, which is at youtube.com/theshyhat. Devilmind, thank you very much. And Ilhan, thank you very much for showing interest in the extra credit. So all the material that you see in our workshops is also in our HackerFrogs videos right here. We're currently working on the green series of videos, which is web app hacking over here. But we also have one on Python programming, and we have one on Linux OS operations. And if you want to participate in more HackerFrog stuff, we have a Reddit, which is at reddit.com/HackerFrogs. So I'll leave that in the chat as well. And on our HackerFrogs, we've got a bunch of different topics talking about how to get into cybersecurity and about different education materials. I also post each week's streaming schedule on there as well. So as you see this week, we're doing Web App Hacking 1, which is what we're doing right now. And we also have the extra credit class, which is happening on Wednesday. But thank you very much for tuning in today. If anybody has any extra questions about anything that they're working on, anything that they're learning, feel free to type it in the chat. I'd love to get to know what you guys are working on currently. If I can help out in any way, if I can point you guys to any stuff on the web, which could be good for learning whatever you're learning, I'm happy to help. Otherwise, you can leave your comments on the YouTube videos or are on Reddit. All right. So one thing so before we go, I'll just point out the channel HackerSploit on YouTube. Well, thank you very much, Devilmind, and thank you very much, Ilhan. So HackerSploit over here is a great channel for learning cybersecurity stuff. They've got a lot of different videos on cybersecurity, but if we were to look up HTTP, they've got a series of videos for web app pen testing. Okay, so this one is Intro to HTTP. There's HTTP headers and methods, and a bunch of different stuff, HTTP cookies and sessions. We'll be talking about a lot of this this kind of stuff next week on Monday when we resume our next regular workshop. I hope to see you guys on the Wednesday extra credit live stream. Ilhan says, have you tried the Cisco website? What do you mean by the Cisco website, Ilhan? You're going to have to help me out here. Are you talking about Cisco HTTP? As usual, if you have any questions about HTTP, the one great thing about ChatGPT is that you can ask it all sorts of technical questions, and you'll probably also get some great answers from there. It's a website to learn about networking, cybersecurity, etc. Oh, that's true. That's true. If you want to learn about networking, one great resource is Professor Messer. Professor Messer, and he has a great. Let's see. He has a great playlist, which is about the the Network Plus. The Network Plus exam from CompTIA, and that's a great way to learn about networking, computer networking. So let's just say this playlist right here. I'll leave it in chat. Oh, I should change the music. I don't own this music. I don't own this music either, but the person who made this music is one of my friends, and they let me play that music. So Ilhan says, as a hacker, we need a strong knowledge about networking tool. This is very true. So networking is so computer networking is a very important thing to understand while you're doing computer hacking, computer cybersecurity stuff, especially when it comes to web app hacking and network hacking, which is something we'll be covering in another course on HackerFrogs AfterSchool. But so everybody who came here today, thank you very much for attending. And we'll be back on Wednesday. Hope to see you there for our extra credit class. Have a great rest of your day. If you want to contact us at HackerFrogs, please go to the Reddit. reddit.com/r/HackerFrogs and leave a post there, and we'll try to answer your questions as best we can. But until then, see you next time, and have a great rest of your week. Thank you very much to Tracy T, Ilhan Idris, Devilmind, and I'm forgetting one person. Or maybe I'm not. Okay. All right. So have a great rest of your day. See you next time, guys.